han podido utilizar.
Of the world. Yet many times over the years, Argentina's people have wondered whether they'll have the money to feed themselves and their families. This was Buenos Aires in 1975, people stocking up on groceries before the price goes up yet again. Very little has changed in nearly 15 years, except the value of the money. By 1983, the peso was worth so little that the government knocked 4 zeros off and created a new currency. 2 years later, another new currency, and 3 more zeros gone, as 1,000 pesos argentinos became 1 austral. Today, it takes more than 100 australes, 1 billion old pesos, to buy 1 US dollar. The Malvinas War of 1982, when Argentine troops invaded the British Falkland Islands dependency off the coast and had to surrender to British defenders weeks later, was a pivotal event in Argentine politics. The financial cost of fighting the war brought huge tax increases. The political cost of losing the war brought down the military government of the day and shattered the military's reputation. Britain's Conservative Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher won re-election after Britain won the war. Radical Party politician Raul Alfonsin, a political moderate, won Argentina's presidency the same year. And this year's presidential contest is in many ways a replay of the British election of 1983, with the Radical Party's Eduardo Angeloz, the Conservative, wanting to cut state spending and sell many state-owned companies, and the union-backed Peronist party's Carlos Menem taking some cues from the ruling radicals, but wanting the state to get even more involved, much as the British Labour Party does. Labour has lost to Thatcher 3 times, but Menem and his Peronists are favoured to win. For years in Argentina, many working-class men and women have wanted a return to what they now see as the good old days, when Juan Peron and his wife Evita led the nation with a political philosophy that mixed fascism and socialism. Peron, a former general, was president after World War II, a dictator who believed the state and he should control the economy and take care of the people. After he'd been in office 9 years, the military threw him out in 1955 to spend the next 17 years in exile in Spain. The street demonstrations of the day were against his political repression. But successive military and civilian governments couldn't do any better at solving Argentina's economic problems. And a decade later, people were demonstrating for his return. In 1972, the army allowed Peron and his third wife, Isabel, back into the country. In 1973, he won the presidential election with Isabel as vice president. Less than a year later, Juan Peron was dead. His name and his movement lived on as Isabel took over the presidency. But with the economy deteriorating and left-wing terrorism on the rise, her government was unable to cope. And after a year, the military threw her out and devoted its efforts to shoring up the economy and rounding up guerrillas and perceived left-wing dissidents in a violent campaign known as the Dirty War.
Ahora resulta indispensable aparición con vida y castigo a los culpables.
As many as 11,000 people disappeared or died during 8 years of military rule, their names kept alive by relatives known as the Mothers of the Plaza. Some observers believe Alfonsin's radicals beat the Peronists in the 1983 elections because of the candidates' long-standing advocacy of human rights. In the last 6 years, the government has tried and convicted many military leaders for their roles both in the Falklands War and in the Dirty War. The military hasn't always taken it well. Alfonsin's faced 3 armed revolts in the past 2 years from military men who want less retribution against their colleagues and more of a role in running the nation. Few people now think the good old days were the days of military dictatorship. During one military revolt, crowds gathered outside the barracks to stone the rebels. Eduardo Angeloz is more conservative than Alfonsin, and his rhetoric is not going over well with voters who see their buying power slipping away almost hourly. But Carlos Menem's popular appeal, which involves telling different things to different people and saying specifics will come later, is hitting home. Winning Sunday's popular election doesn't necessarily mean winning the Casa Rosada. The Constitution says an electoral college picks the president, and it doesn't have to go by the popular vote. It also says Raul Alfonsin the military, and especially the economy, may dictate otherwise. Mark Leff, CNN, reporting.